For the longest time, the idea of alien contact was pure science fiction, right? But what this declassified document shows is that for a lot of scientists, it's not a question of if we'll ever make contact, but when. And believe me, they've spent a ton of time thinking about what that very first message might look like.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Picture this. A signal like this hits one of our radio telescopes. It's just a long, long string of ones and zeros. I mean, at first glance, it looks like nothing, just meaningless cosmic static. But this is the exact puzzle laid out in the document, a real message hidden in plain sight. So the real question is, how on earth do you even start to decipher something like this? I mean, think about it. We don't share a language. We don't share a culture. What possible common ground could there be between us and a mind from a totally different star? Well, that's the challenge we're going to tackle right now. Together.
But first, hang on. Why should we even be expecting a message in the first place? Well, it all comes down to a numbers game. And the numbers, they're absolutely astronomical. According to Dr. Frank Drake, whose work is all over this document, once you start factoring in all the variables, stars, planets, the odds of life, you land on this just staggering estimate. About 1 billion civilizations could have popped up in our galaxy by now. 1 billion. And this quote right here, it gets to the heart of the whole mystery. If the universe is potentially that crowded, then why is it so quiet? This is the famous Fermi paradox. And that silence is what makes the hunt for a signal so intense. And the stakes? Well, they're incredibly high. All right, so how do we solve our puzzle? Well, think about it. If some super intelligent species wanted to send a message across the cosmos, they wouldn't make it impossible to decode. They'd have to use a key that anyone, anywhere in the universe could figure out. And this brings us to this really cool concept from the source material called inverse cryptography. The whole goal isn't to hide information, it's to reveal it. It's about creating a puzzle that literally contains its own instructions, one that's designed from the ground up to be solved. The sender can't rely on us knowing their biology or their history or anything about them. But they can rely on one thing we all share, the laws of the universe. The fundamental language that describes reality itself is mathematics, and that's exactly where they've hidden the first clue. And here's how that works. The process is just beautiful in its logic. First, you count the bits. There are 1,271 of them. Then, you look for the factors of that number. Well, it turns out 1,271 is the product of just two prime numbers, 31 and 41. Now, that can't be a coincidence. It's a massive clue that the message isn't a line of text. It's a grid. It's a picture. So, we have the key. We have the dimensions. We are right on the verge of turning that meaningless string of static into the very first message humanity has ever received from an alien civilization. And there it is. Just look at that. On the left, you see the chaos we started with. But when you arrange those 1,271 bits into a grid that's 41 rows deep and 31 bits wide, the image on the right just snaps into focus. This is the aha moment. The signal becomes a pictogram. Communication has officially begun. But, cracking the code was really just the first step. Now comes the hard part, or maybe the fun part. We have to interpret it. What is this picture actually telling us about the beings who sent it? Okay, let's start at the very top. This is basically their cosmic address. We can see a sun and what looks like 8 planets. It's a map of their solar system. It gives us an immediate sense of their place in the universe. Next, they tell us what they're made of. These are little diagrams for the atoms hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. This is a huge piece of information. It strongly suggests their biology, just like ours, is carbon-based. Their life as we'd understand it, built from some of the most common stuff in the universe. And here they are. It's a self-portrait. They seem to be upright, two-legged, maybe mammalian beings. And look, one figure is pointing down to the 4th planet, telling us this is our home. They're not just showing us what they look like, they're showing us exactly where they're from. Now, this next part is it's brilliant. How do you communicate size across galaxies? Well, you use a universal yardstick. The document suggests this bracket next to them represents their height, which is written in binary, as 11. 11 what? 11 units of the transmission's own wavelength.
So if the message was sent on the famous 21-centimeter hydrogen line, that would make them about 7.5 feet tall. So clever. Okay, so a picture is a fantastic start, but you can't have a real, deep conversation with pictograms. The document then starts to explore what comes next and, yeah, the profound dangers that might come with it. So after pictures, the next logical step would be language. The document actually lays out how this could work, basically teaching a language from total scratch. You start with basic numbers, then build up to concepts like addition and subtraction, and eventually, you could even get to abstract thought, all taught through pure universal logic. But then, this is where the analysis takes a fascinating and frankly a much darker turn. The author gives a serious warning. Making contact with a civilization that could be thousands, maybe millions of years ahead of us carries immense, maybe even existential risks. Citing the astronomer Iosif Shklovsky, the document lists 5 profound crises that could wipe out a civilization like ours. Things like self-destruction through war, genetic danger, information overload, even a crisis that comes from creating artificial intelligence. It suggests the answer to that big question, where is everybody, might be a pretty grim one. Maybe they just don't make it.
Which brings us all the way back to that first message. If this image just appeared on your screen, a self-portrait from another world, what would you ask them? Would it be about their science, their philosophy? Or, given all the risks, would your first question be, how did you survive?